News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Well, good morning, Sarah Brightman.
Good
How
morning.
are you? You are so beautiful.
Thank you.
And yet you remind me of somebody that I know. I don't know why. It's that friendly face. I was expecting a diva.
I have a face like a cat, I'm told.
Like a cat.
I move like a cat.
Well, isn't that fitting? I mean,
It probably is. Of course, I forgot about that. I was being very obvious about
You
all of
forgot
that.
about cats?
Yes, I did for a moment.
Do you
No,
like?
but I've got one of those very open faces, wide cheeks, and a wide smile, a bit like the Cheshire cat in
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland, isn't it?
But you look so friendly. Tell me about the town in England that you came from.
A friendly town, friendly people, just outside of London, about half an hour outside of London, in the Greenbelt area, and it was beautiful. My father, he was a property developer, my mother a housewife, and I had 5 siblings.
And where did you fall in the sibling line?
First, of course.
First.
Yes.
So, but normally it's the first, the eldest is not the one who comes out with all the talent and success. It's like people follow. When did you discover that you had this great voice, and how did it develop?
I've always sung since I was a child, well, really since I can remember, and I was quite a shy kid, and I didn't communicate very easily. But whenever I was at school or church choir or all of at a party with my parents, when I sang, everybody took notice. So that was my little strength. So and I knew that I could do it sort of at that time better than everybody else, and it just came out of me. I could also play the piano very naturally without reading music as a child as well. So as I got older, I found myself teachers. I started to train the voice. I started to work with it. But I've always been absolutely fascinated and passionate about music. Because in fact, I was brought through the 60s, and I can remember from a very early age, my mother had sitting at a yellow formica table, as they were then, and my mother had the radio on. Weren't they great? Yes. I know, you have real memories of them. And my mother used to, she loved music, always had the radio on. And of course, we only had like 1 or 2 channels in those days. But they'd play a piece of Rachmaninoff next to Tom Jones singing What's New Pussycat, next to goodness knows. So my taste naturally from that early age it was very open and very eclectic because of that time. And so it probably answers some of the questions of why I choose music nowadays in the way that I do. There are no barriers.
You know, it's so much information is available online these days, and everybody, of course, when they're immediately, whether it's just someone you meet in the street or you're going to go on a blind date or something, they look it up online. So when I looked you up online, I'm not asking you out on a date, by the way.
That's fine.
Although you're very pretty.
That's very lovely, thank you.
It seems so odd to see you described as classical operatic singer, dancer, crossover artist, soprano, and trained cosmonaut.
Cosmonaut in training.
So where does the astronaut thing come in?
Well, just to answer the first part of what you were saying, I'm in my early 50s now, and I've had an extremely long career. My first professional engagement, if you like, in the theatre, in a musical with a great director, I was only 11. And I had in fact been competing in dancing shows and singing shows since I was 3. So being in entertainment and the arts I've been around for a long time, which gives you room to work with many genres, to work with different things in your life. So that's probably feels a little crazy, all that list of things, but in fact that's what time gives you if you love being involved with what I do. And to answer the second part of your question, I've always wanted to go into space. I've always been incredibly inspired by space and in my own work as well, really from being in the 60s and watching from a black and white TV set the first man walk on the moon. It gave me it made me understand much more about, at an early age, about what humans really were capable of. It was completely out of the box. The idea of that space exploration could be for everybody in the future was like, there's nothing been like that time to date, I don't think. So it actually, and it was a very experimental time in all areas with music and, of course, musicians like Bowie, Pink Floyd, they all did these wonderful space themes, and we had all those dramas on TV like Lost in Space and obviously the Starship Enterprise, all that fun aspect of it. And science was very relevant then. Physicists were really, they had their own shows. We had a great sort of astronomer called Patrick Moore on TV every week, or sometimes every other night. So it's always been part of my life, and I was always very interested in aviation as well, because my father flew aeroplanes, my uncle did, and I learnt to fly some at an early age as well. I was always going to air shows with my parents, which was fascinating. And later on I did Harrier Jump Jet training, which was fascinating.
You did?
I did.
What's
yes.
it feel like to be in a Harrier Jump Jet?
It's better than anything. Absolutely.
These are the jets that do a virtual standing takeoff.
That's right.
Like they've
yes,
got jets.
They use them on
like
the
Arnold
ships.
Schwarzenegger flew in the movie True Lies. Yeah.
Was it Arnold Schwarzenegger or was it Tom Cruise?
They were both involved in
that.
They were both involved in one.
Right.
Tom Cruise was hanging on to one, I think, from the outside. So how far along are you in your training?
Well, it doesn't quite work like that. I've passed all the medical and physical and psychological tests that actually, that, and I've been told as by the Russian Space Federation, I'm a cosmonaut in training now, which means I've got through. They're pretty tough, all of them, and it's taken a long time. And then, I have a window to go up in 2015. So it's about 6 to 8 months actual training in Star City from that time. So we'll see how it goes. Anything can happen from now to then.
And how long will you be in space if you...
8 to 10 days.
8 to 10
Yeah,
days.
it doesn't take very long, just a few minutes to get up into orbit, but it's actually, then it takes 2 days to follow the space station around.
Tell me about your new solo release, Dream Chaser.
Everyone's having trouble with that name today.
I don't know why. Dream Chaser.
Dream Chaser. Again, inspired by the universe, stars, planets. I wanted it to be a very epic piece. I wanted it to be sort of universal sounding and expansive. So it actually gave me a beautiful map to follow, to choose very different types of songs that I haven't done. I wouldn't normally have done so had this not been space themed and universe themed. And there's some beautiful pieces in there. There's one, for example, which I did called Glossoli by Sigur Rós, and I'm a huge fan of Sigur Rós, and always felt with their music and with the country that they come from, Iceland, that in a way it's the country on the planet which to me feels the nearest to space. I mean, their natural landscape that they have is extraordinary and very diverse. If you think of all the northern lights they have, there are solar flares, there's everything happening there, as well as, sadly, sometimes volcano eruptions. But
Can you pronounce the name of the volcano?
Sorry?
Can you pronounce the name of the volcano? Because this was a big problem for a lot of people.
I don't think so, and I don't think I can even remember it at this point. Can you? Can you remind me?
No. I just remember that was the big joke.
But actually, because I didn't, they sing a sort of mixture of their own language and a strange language of their own that they made up for this piece. I asked if I could do it in English, and a wonderful writer called Chris Difford wrote the lyrics for it, and it's beautiful. It starts off, it's incredibly ethereal, and then it goes into into something almost ballistic. You feel it's like it could be a solar flare, it could be something extraordinary, it could be a rocket launch, the way that the piece ends. And there are all pieces in this album that give you that beautiful subliminal feeling of space. And people who've listened to it have often have said to me, that's the feeling we get from all of these songs, although some of them we know them from other times.
So when Sarah Brightman comes back to Montreal in September, on September 13th, what can we expect from your show?
That's been fun. Can you imagine the palette that just visually as well as audibly, that with this concept that I've been able to work with, it's been extraordinary. The costumes are beautiful. What I'm doing, I've mixed a lot of my very classic songs that people like Phantom of the Opera and Time to Say Goodbye and Nella Fantasia and Scarborough Fair, all of those beautiful pieces. But we've worked a little on the arrangements of them, orchestrations, so they have a slightly more ethereal, spacey theme that fits in with the whole Dream Chaser album. So I think it's going to be a really interesting piece.
It sounds fantastic. Sarah Brightman on CJAD. You can see her September 13th at the Bell Center, and Dream Chaser, which was released on Tuesday. Congratulations, and it's so nice to see you in Montreal.
Thank you.
If you need a tour around,
okay,
just let me know.
I will do that.
Okay. Sarah Brightman.
Oh, there are all these people.